try to get them to a place where, okay, we're ready to go, let's get started. So that's mainly what we do with these.
So what's the onboarding process? So do you help companies from different locations around the world? Does it have to be anybody particular from a place, or do you help anyone on board through your system?
So we're a little bit picky with kind of the qualifications, but anybody in the world we can work with, any kind of team. So we look at like strong founders, strong kind of product market fit. You know, does this make sense? Does what they're trying to do make sense to coming into blockchain, or are they just trying to get into blockchain because it's a hype cycle or something? So we look at all those factors, and then once we've kind of identified the opportunities, it doesn't matter where they're from, especially today and age, we work with anybody. We then take that team and kind of off we go and we start doing things.
So what are the trends that you're seeing? I know a lot of people are talking about this crypto winter, and I really don't see it in the development spot because more people are really developing and creating technology. So where do you really see technology moving for a lot of companies that are coming to you guys?
Right, so a lot of that's what we're doing now. So you guys might have heard of like Web 2 to Web 3, and that's the big one here, right? And so moving from Web 2 to Web 3 is really from a place of, you know, centralization to decentralization. You don't own your own assets, you don't own your information. Web 3 financial platform, whether that's healthcare platform, real estate, buying shoes on Amazon, it doesn't really matter, but you own your information, your assets, your IP, and you can take those away. So a lot of companies now are kind of looking like, okay, if I'm not into Web3, I'm going to be behind the 8 ball, you know, when this kind of wave kind of hits. So we talk to companies like that and say, like, so how do we move you from Web 2 to Web 3?
Yeah, I find that there's been a lot of movement when people want to have their own control over their IP. And being able to do that in the Web3 model is so important, it's particularly when people feel like their ideas get stolen all the time. So when you look at those type of issues, what type of platforms are you suggesting people to be on to make sure that they can control their IP and operate in the fashion that they think that they should be moving into?
So I actually think what's going to happen in the future, and what we're seeing now, is there's going to be a lot of wallets. The wallet industry, even the crypto wallet industry itself, is larger than the crypto industry. Wow. So like right now today, the crypto industry is about $1 trillion roughly, market cap over $1 trillion. The crypto wallet industry is over $1.5 trillion. That's how much people use wallets. And then if you look at traditional mobile wallets and payments that people use every day, like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and platforms like that, that is almost a $10 trillion industry, moving to 16 plus trillion over the next 5+ years. You add those two together, which is what happened, you have an over $20 trillion industry. Now you have real adoption. So I think it's not just, it is about platforms, but what we've seen with like Celsius, BlockFi, Voyager, banks, Coinbase, all these centralized authorities, you're not in control. If they shut down, you lose your money. You can't take it out, and you're totally screwed. So I see people going to trusted wallet providers in a decentralized manner, where a wallet can have AML KYC. The wallet in a Web3 environment can connect to a platform. So it could connect to like a Celsius-like platform, and if something happens, they still own their assets. They can kind of take it out, right? So you're seeing centralized exchanges and stuff working with like hardware wallets and ledgers and stuff like that to do similar things. So the wallet itself will be the trusted authority that people use to kind of connect to platforms for whatever you want to do. Financial, real estate, buying stuff, access, membership, it doesn't matter. It's going to be, I think, more about like wallets, and that's kind of the space that we're playing in right now.
It's mad that we're going right back to wallets, because when we first started in the crypto industry, everybody had their own key. Like everybody used to walk around with their own key, with their crypto on their key, and be able to plug it into networks in order for you to utilize. So we're to revert right back to where we were in the beginning. That's mad. But when we look at decentralized models, a lot of people are looking at DAOs. What do you think about decentralized autonomous organizations?
So I wrote an article a long time ago that got me a lot of shit from the Ethereum community. So this was when the first DAO came out. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was back in roughly 2016.
Yeah.
And they had an issue where, you know, they didn't really code it properly, and someone actually siphoned the funds from using a child DAO. That person actually didn't do anything wrong. There was a problem with the code. So DAOs as a whole I like, but I wrote this article that was called "To DAO or Not to DAO," and basically what I like about. And so I like DAOs for certain things, but the governance and the model has to be very solid in order for that to work, because sometimes these DAOs and everything. So for example, one of my old clients was a client called Dash. They're the first instance of a DAO, and they probably have done it better than anyone else ever. And that was kind of like a hybrid model from proof of work and proof of stake, where they had node operators that could vote on things, and the community could kind of put up like a post of something that they wanted, and it worked very, very well. But sometimes you then get kind of this culmination where groups start working together, and it's hard to get away from that. But I think with certain technologies that are coming out in the future, like quadratic voting and things like that, you can kind of minimize that type of risk. But we're already seeing some of that centralization kind of coming in with like the new Ethereum merge, and how it's proof of stake now, and over 40-something% of the nodes are owned by like 2 operators. And that's really scary for people.
Wow.
So DAOs can work in I think kind of smaller sort of subsets for things, but I think it's kind of new for right now today. But it will grow and it will get stronger in the future.
What do you think about the NFT market? I have been hearing so much about how NFTs are becoming such a convertible asset with CNFTs and INFTs. It's almost a new acronym for an NFT every week. And so the emergence of NFTs in so many different arenas has been such a hot button topic item. How do you see that operating, especially in the space with digital asset currencies and exchanges?
So a lot of people don't know this, but NFTs have been around for a long time. One of my old clients, Spells Genesis, created the first ever NFT, and our company was actually the oracle in their game. It was a card game like Magic the Gathering. So at that time, I looked at NFTs very, very differently, where people see monkey pictures. What am I going to do with that? For one of our products, Mobile Productions, we had to look at film royalties, and film royalties go for like 75 years. So how do you have an asset, a blockchain-based asset, that can hold like the information and the data and in like a token, but it can't be fungible, right? So it can't be like an ERC20 token. It needs to be something that's non-fungible, that can hold that information and that data, and it's unique. It's like one-of-one.
Yeah.
So there's instances for NFTs like that, where it's royalties. Real estate is another good example of where NFTs I think can fit in. You're looking at like property rights, title transfer, anything that is very unique. I have a hard time sometimes with like the art part of it and like the picture part of it. I think it's good for community building and things like that. But I think it's, a lot of these NFT projects that are out today, 95-98% of them aren't going to be around anymore. Some will stick around, but I think the NFTs with utility and moving into the stock market and stuff like that, I can see this coming in the future, kind of like security tokens or NFTs for commodities and stuff like that.
I've heard of a new product where the NFT allows you to take all of your IP and put it on there for you to be able to track absolutely everything that you have in a product. And so a lot of luxury brands these days are trying to figure out, how do I bring stability to my product and also have my consumer know that this is not a knockoff, or this is not a product that we may have made someplace else and we're trying to sell it to you, and it's, that you can track. And that assists them with these carbon credits. So you're right, it's so broad when you're looking at what it can do and how convertible it is. And how transferable do you think that these are going to be? Are you looking at NFTs more like they're going to be able to be resold and for representation of products? Like, how do you think that's going to be going?
Yeah, and that's a good point. So holding the IP is definitely good, and being able to verifiably prove that that piece of art, that piece of clothing, that item is that item. I think there needs to be kind of like a digital and hardware component for something that sits in the real world. But for example, I have a client who owns a watch store, right? And he is big into the metaverse. And so he's like, Kevin, he's like, when you build the metaverse, he's like, I want a watch store in there, and I want NFTs of the watches in my store that people can buy. and then they can come to my store and redeem them.
That's right.
Or they can sell them on like a secondary market.
Right.
Gaming is massive. So
Huge.
gaming is massive. So people like skins, right? So the ability to have an NFT of a skin and one game, and then go into another game and say get a wand or something. I'm not really a gamer, but some of these gamers do that. There's massive market opportunity with that, right? So all of these use cases are great for NFTs.
Yeah, I think Kanye will be happy if he learns how to use it. Because he's complaining every day of people stealing his idea. So when we look at a lot of these digital asset exchanges, we have FTX, we have all these companies that are moving into the space. How do we find that right platform that you can convert yourself and deal and have access to, and you're really seeing that your control over your assets in that realization way?
So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of players in the space. FTX. I think when it comes to exchanges, you want to trade on an exchange that you're comfortable with and has the assets that you want to trade with. I mean, they're still centralized. They're not trading real tokens. It's still fractionalized reserve. There's still a lot of manipulation. So moving to a more decentralized exchange approach, with verifiable data through a wallet, I think that's something that we're going to. But how you choose something to use is really personal preference. What do I like? What do I don't like? Same with like blockchains. I don't think that we can pick a blockchain right now. We don't know if Bitcoin is going to be the winner, or Ethereum is going to be the winner, or is it going to be Solana, or is it going to be Avalanche? It doesn't matter, right? But so you want to make sure that you're kind of playing on the ones that you believe in and you're more comfortable using. At the end of the day, there could be one, but there still could be a whole bunch. And right now what we're seeing is we're just seeing bridging and working between different blockchains because we don't know which one. So I wouldn't bet on one, it's just which one are you most comfortable with.
I think here we're getting so excited with all of these new firms that are coming into the Bahamas and opening up their places, and Bahamas are really trying to figure out how do we get in the space? How do we really participate in the space and be more involved and be at the forefront along with the companies that are coming here now? How do you think that we can play a better role, or what can we do better to be more involved with how the development of the industry is happening right here in our country, which we may not be, at the forefront of?
Well, first thing, you guys have to figure out island time. That's a bit of a problem.
That's no problem.
Timing is everything in all markets,
Yeah.
especially crypto, so you don't want to be late for it. No, that's a joke. So actually, the new government that just got in, they're very pro-crypto. And one of the reasons why we moved here and brought our companies here was because last year, I got introduced basically through my lawyer in Canada. Came here, I met with the government, and I was like, wow, like they're being really, really proactive. Recently, I had the pleasure to meet with you guys as Prime Minister, Brady Davis, and we had a great talk, and he was very, very proactive. So that was like the first step that you guys needed to kind of get there. The next kind of steps, I think, is really pushing the government to give Bahamians more access to things. And we don't have to go down that road. But personally, we can have that talk.
Yeah, we can have that talk.
Sure,
we can definitely
right?
have that talk, because today we had a luncheon with Christina Rowe and John Rowe, right? And they're the heads of the securities. One is the Community Commission, and we have the central bank head. And the one question that I asked, which is blocking us every day, is when are we going to remove exchange controls? I mean, like, as you have foreigners coming here and you do business, you even feel hampered a little bit with trying to move US dollars in and out of here. That's a problem in a space when you want to be voluminous in your transactions. So you're free to transact, but you're still having issues. So I asked the very question, and of course I got a very quasi-answer as to because of this and this and this. But it's really something that we want to see. How can we really push in order so that we can have that inclusion?
Yeah, so that's one thing. So one thing that you guys can do is get involved in more communities and create more communities here. And it's something that I hope that we'll be able to do here. And the more people, like there's power in numbers, and the more people that are interested and involved, and the more people who are able to actually work in this space. So more on this, one of the things that I couldn't believe when I was coming here is me as a foreigner, I can't invest in Bahamian companies without all of this red tape and
Yeah, huge.
And Bahamians can't invest outside of the Bahamas with all